If you're a woman entrepreneur and you're over 40 and you have been chronically exhausted, even though your life looks busy and full and successful, I want to tell you that your nervous system may be stuck in survival mode. The truth is, so many of us high performing women have been living there for years without actually realizing it. And in this video, I'd like to show you 5 signs that your nervous system is actually dysregulated and a simple way of recalibrating it. Because I've spent the last 30 years working in trauma recovery, corrective exercise, holistic health, and healing. And the nervous system was and is definitely one of the systems that we deal with. It has become very popular now with nervous system regulation and somatic healing. And all of it, though, comes still within the whole system of you. And so I want to make sure that we're not segregating the nervous system from immune system, endocrine system. All of these are part of our whole system. And in working with tens of thousands of high performing leaders, high performing athletes, and very successful folks on the outside, right? Very successful financially, and they're absolutely successful on the outside, but privately completely exhausted. They're overwhelmed. They're disconnected from their bodies. And I've certainly experienced this firsthand. And it's interesting that it continues to perpetuate itself. Definitely, we're seeing this now where it's more popular to talk about the nervous system, which I think is fantastic. What happens is this nervous system, right, when it's stuck in survival mode, what's the nervous system for, right? It is that part of our system that keeps us responding to our environment in a way that keeps us alive, essentially, right? So the part of our nervous system that responds in fight, flight, or freeze, we all know about that, that system can actually get chronically stuck. And it can look different for each individual. And I think that's why it's important to really understand for yourself and not just take something that someone else is saying and say you need your nervous system needs to be regulated up or regulated. A lot of times they're talking about it needs to be regulated up when actually it needs to come down or it needs to turn back on because they're stuck in a freeze mode. I have experienced all three where I've been stuck in, and there are stress patterns in my system that are definitely locked down where I completely freeze and then have the complete opposite where I'm in flee mode or work harder or push harder mode. And then another where there's the fight, right? The drive. And so when this becomes dysregulated, this is where the burnout comes, right? This is actually what we're experiencing. That's where burnout begins. Okay. The response, though, I want you to know is that response of fight, flight, freeze, right, is a natural response. It is designed to keep us alive. It's most important to understand, though, it was designed for bursts, not for chronic as a daily operating system, right? So if your body never truly resets, then it makes sense as to why the exhaustion will come through and you will burn out. It's going to show up differently for everyone. I have a video where I talk about my recent complete burnout, and I think it's important to understand for yourself what does it look like for you, not just what it looks like for someone else, but it's helpful to hear someone else's. 5 signs that I see when a client comes to me, when I look for it in myself. I'm always client number 1 at this point, that when you are trying to relax, you can't. It's like you finally sit down and your body is still feeling tense. Your mind will not shut off. And so oftentimes we'll turn to that glass of wine. Maybe that's become a habit, things like this. But that's the first sign that I'll see. And then if it's later, usually when I'm working with clients in their 40s and 50s, they've already adapted to habits. And then we get into addictions and things like that. But when you can start to see these signs, it's a really important one because we have to kind of reverse engineer this. The second one that I see a lot is that you're so tired, but you're wired, right? You've heard this. You're tired, but you're wired. Maybe you even go to sleep. Maybe you take pills to go to sleep and you wake up more exhausted. And this is kind of, there's a whole gamut of that. My experience has been everything from, oh, I'll take melatonin, but then I'm waking up and I'm feeling even more deeply exhausted. We have to remember that the brain and the body actually are doing a lot of work when we're sleeping. So we need energy to sleep. So that's a piece there. So you want to know this sign if you're tired, but you're wired. Okay. That's definitely a sign that the nervous system's stuck in a mode. The third one is I'll see chronic body tension, chronic shoulders tight up to the ears. Often that's a big one that I see. Jaw clenching. That's my number one, jaw clenching, and my body will shift and I'll have tight pain. It's going to be individual for you. So just notice. And that's why tools like the somatic work, somatic just is body, like you're in your body, you're recognizing, oh, wow, man, I had no idea that my jaw was so tight. My shoulders are so, I'm holding myself so tight. And so when you can come back into your body and recognize that, it's very useful. The fourth sign that I see is brain fog. This is usually like emotional overwhelm where you just, some part of your sensories will start to shut down. And that's the nervous system overloaded, right? It cannot process. And we have to remember that, uh, especially when we hit later years in life, and this is what's been so interesting, is the same issues, right? I had heavy childhood trauma, sexual abuse, and then other issues, physical, emotional, sexual, the gamut, and it's in the body. It is stored in the cells. And so we think maybe, all the work we've done, but then it comes out in our lives later. And there's always opportunities for it to be triggered, which is really interesting. But when you can look at this, so recognizing brain fog and going, wow, I can't even remember what just happened that last week. It's like, yeah, it's very possible that your nervous system has, your brain is shut down. Your brain is shifting into protection mode. And again, this isn't about judging or making it bad or wrong. This is just giving you tools to become more aware. So remember, the awareness piece is the first key to healing. And the fifth one I will say is that you've lost your rhythm. You've lost your rhythm. So what would that even mean? It's like I will see folks push through the day, right? They push through the day. There's no off. There's always on. And we have to remember we are by nature seasonal, right? There's a season of an off. There's a season of an on. There's a season of growth. There's a season of dormancy. And we can look at it seasonal in the year, in the seasons, but even in the day and the hour. And when we disconnect from that, this is one of the key pieces that I see. And when I'm doing assessments, they've given themselves the time to do this. One of the things that when you are in it, it is very hard to see for yourself. And it's like a runaway train, right? But what I see and have experienced for myself is that most high performing, especially women, I've seen it with men as well. I work mostly with women. They try to solve it by pushing harder, right? We just push harder, more discipline, more productivity, more organization, more optimization. The thing is, the nervous system actually is not going to heal from pushing harder, right? It comes from actually restoring the body's natural rhythm, natural way of well-being. That is going to be very unique to you. We are not all the same. What's worked for me, and some days some things work for me and some days they do not. So it's all about, I think, self realization, and ultimately that's the work that when the trauma is stored around and then it takes over. Oh, let's breathe it out or let's tap it out, sometimes just isn't going to work. So the tools that are my go-to, because of the first piece of awareness, is flipping that switch from stimulus to response, because your stimulus may be different at different times. It's going to look different for everybody. So the biggest thing that I can say is that the stimulus response, we want to expand that gap. So from the response of whatever it is that your go-to for that stimulus is, that response, we need to step into, even if it's just a brief moment. It could be with the breath. I've worked with clients, though, even with myself, I'll get caught up in my breath because of having near drowning, suffocating type of experiences. Getting caught in my breath doesn't always help. It actually triggers more fight or flight. It triggers more in that response. So we have to always come back to self-awareness and empowering ourselves. And I think, when we're in it, how do we get out of it? It's that I would say, how can you come back to building the reserves? And this is why I always go back to basics, right? The foundations of how can we build so that it doesn't go into a major, at least I was going to say dumpster fire, but a dumpster fire is at least contained, right? When you have a massive explosion and it's everywhere and it's not contained, it's really hard to stop that response that's happening. But the first piece is awareness, and I've taught that for 15 years. Is the first piece is we have to practice that awareness, and the more we practice being aware, it does become easier and it becomes faster, because you're like, oh, there it is again. And I think that that's ultimately where the healing takes place and the recalibration can take place. Then you can start signaling to the nervous system. That's part of the learning to lead stronger, longer. It took me going back into a leadership role to completely burn out again and experience it at a deeper level and realize, wow, there's more work to be done. And that's a gift rather than it looking like it's a really bad thing. If this resonates with you, you are not broken. And the broken has a big word, because sometimes it's like, yeah, I am broken right now. My car is broken down and it is not functioning. But you are not broken. And that's the difference, right? Your body's systems might be a little damaged, and we'll call them broken, but don't make that identify who you are. Because if you can keep the viewpoint that it is an opportunity to grow and expand in consciousness, then there is still life left to come forth. And I think that that's really important. And that's the work that I hope to share in this next evolution. If this resonates, you're not alone. Please be sure you download the 5-step PDF that just takes you through from awareness to releasing what's not working and reinforcing what does work for you and building that toolbox. It's very useful. And I'll see you in the next video.